Hey everybody, this is Annie Noodle, and it is gray and gloomy out, but at least it's not snowing. Um, so I'm still on a no-buy, and one of the things that I set out for myself, hey baby, when I started my no-buy is that if I was in the middle of a project that, especially a project that I actually am commissioned for, and I need, what are you doing? My cat's making racket. Um, so if I was in the middle of a project, especially a project that I was getting paid for, and I was lacking tools to get the work done as best possible, that I would let myself buy something to complete that work. Like, that sounds like a cop out, and it's not. So I bought this. So let's open it. I wanted to open this on camera, especially because, like, this is the box it shipped in, and it is flimsy and ridiculous. Look at that. It shipped in this. I hope it's okay, because it was expensive. Because I got this set of 72 Derwent Light Fast pencils. And this is to go over my watercolor paintings. And the reason why I wanted to get this is because my last mushroom picture, which you might have seen if you watched my 2-hour long video, I sent that image over to the person who was requesting these mushroom images from me. And he was like, this is really great, but it's not defined enough. And you can get really good definition with watercolor. It just takes a lot longer. And time is a factor here, my friends. So yeah, colored pencils. Ooh, they smell so good. Yeah, I love the smell of colored pencils. I just sniffed that until it fell out of the case. So I am not going to swatch these out for you guys or anything. I might swatch them for me so that I know what I'm getting into. But I do have the Derwent like drawing pencil set, and I love it. So I have no fear that I'm going to like this. Oof, look how pretty that is. I am so camera? Okay, so I managed to make my camera focus. Yeah, not that you need to see that. I just, I'm excited, so I'm showing off a little bit. Well, hey guys, we are now with voiceover Annie Noodle, and I decided to go to one of my old sketchbook pictures and try to get like a feel for these colored pencils to see how they worked. And wow, they are really soft, and I don't know if you can see it very well in this picture because I'm not super in frame, but they are so soft that the tips break easily when they're really sharp. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind if you buy these. They're unbelievably nice to work with. You know, like the color they lay down is really saturated and lovely. And I forgot to add a picture of the remastered little bat and dragon sketch. So I will put that up on my Instagram later. You can find me over there. I'm Annie Noodle. I think I usually link that below in my description if you happen to not be following me. Yeah, but I love working with these pencils, but I'm really glad that I kind of got a feel for them on an old sketch, which, I mean, I love this sketch, so. And now, okay, this picture is outside of my work, and I wanted to talk a little bit about inspiration because I don't know if you can tell, but that one picture is how this illustration came to be. Because I saw it and I was like, oh, it's in such a weird place. And I was like, because we're redoing our warehouse right now at work, and it was in such a weird place, sitting out on the yard. I assume it's getting painted. And I was like, wow, look at that bright yellow staircase sitting in the sun. I wonder how I could make a picture out of that. And it turned into this little arched bridge. And I will also be doing, I will put it on my Ko-fi. I will put this on my Ko-fi. I have all of my sketches, including like my initial one that I did on a post-it note. So don't rule out the value of post-it note sketches. They are so helpful for you just getting an idea down as fast as possible and not forgetting to do it. So actually coloring, uh, they are they layered it to, okay, like I just want to like clarify, guys, I don't have a lot of experience with colored pencils. My set of colored pencils that I've been using before this were Prismacolors, really old Prismacolors. So yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I know what I'm doing because I do not. But they were really lovely to work with, except for like, yeah, anytime I sharpened them too sharp, the tips would break a little bit, which was really annoying. But they do layer really well, and I really liked using them for that. It was kind of like a more textured version of how I. I'm so sorry. It's really early in the morning this time, and my voice is not awake yet. Yeah, but they're like a more textured version of how I approach my watercolors. Like I'm layering different colors so that I get different tones of the colors coming through. So, and here I am starting to work on the interesting folds that happen underneath the chin of an alligator. And it's kind of nice that I was doing this because I totally messed it up and I had to start over. And while these don't like erase, they do lift enough that I think you can, if you're gonna, especially if you're gonna go over them again, you can get away with it. Because I lifted these enough that I think it blends in with the finished skin. Because this part of the skin doesn't get really dark, but I think it works. I'm actually really happy with how his little skin wrinkles turned out under his chin. Yeah, I think that's one of the like coolest parts of alligators is like their interesting neck scales. Okay, I got a drink of water and I'm back. It was like 70 degrees out yesterday, so I'm sure all of the things that I'm allergic to in the springtime were like supercharged. So here I am drawing in the line of the chin jaw. That's the word I want, is jaw. And then I start adding in the scales. And the interesting thing about the scales is they all kind of lean towards the center. So I wanted to make sure that they had that look to them. But then I also wanted to make sure that they didn't end up too erratic. For the rest of him, like the rest of his scales, they're just really randomized because I just really like the look of random scales. Like all of his tail scales, you can see like they're not in the usual pattern. They're just kind of flung around. It probably doesn't help that like in my head I was never really sure if he was an alligator, if he was going to be a dragon, and yada yada yada. And I was like, okay, well, his head is definitely an alligator head, so it's got to have these scales that lean towards the center. Um, yeah, and even with colored pencils, I wanted to point this out. I do cool colors for the shadows. Like you can see them under his fingers. There's like a cooler green, and the part of him that like recedes into like the starry space underneath the bridge is a little cooler. Yeah, so it's helpful to have color theory. If you master one art medium, it really helps you with all the other ones. As I said, have no idea what I'm doing with colored pencil, but just knowing how colors work together is really helping me figure things out. Look at that little kitty butt. I love having illustrations with cats in them. Sorry about the ringing noise. I forget every single time to make my phone silent when I am recording the audio for my videos, and I almost always have to go back and re-record stuff. So The colored pencils, the way that I'm using them in this is actually not going to be super useful, I think, for how I'm going to end up using them in the mushroom pictures, which is why I got them. But I think it's just building my confidence up, and that's not a bad thing because yeah, I went into this and I was like, I am going to put a pencil to this paper and just absolutely ruin it. And I actually really like how he turned out. Yeah, and I would love to hear in the comments what you think of him when I get to the final reveals at the end. Yeah, I would love to hear what you think of him. And I spent like all of my colored pencil time on him basically. Like the girl and the cats and the bridge got like a very small amount of time and he got all the time. He's clearly the star of this show. When I first did the original illustrations and or the original sketches for this illustration, and you will see this when I post this to my Ko-fi account. When I did the original art, I had the alligator like basically he wasn't quite inside the bridge, but he was like framed by that arch of the bridge completely. Like his head was barely poking over the side. He was so much smaller. And then I started doing like a final sketch for this, and I was like, I don't like this at all. I don't know why. And I had to just sit for a couple days and like come back to it. And when I did, I was like, oh, the reason I don't like it is because the alligator is not big enough. And so I made him honking big, and I love it. And it's probably because I'm obsessed with animals, so I think they should be the coolest part of an illustration. So here I am, like circling all his little tail scales, and I wish I had let that be more visible when I was finished because I put in so many layers of shadowing that you just can't really see these. And I like the little like circles. But I ended up like making that the shadow side of the tail because I wanted the underside of the tail to be white. Yeah. And here I'm going in with layers, making little lines for the little segments. So the way I think his tail should work is that each one of those segments should have like its own very organized set of scales. Yeah, I didn't do that. I do what I won't. But I do like the little stripes and how they turned out. Yeah. And I don't know that alligators really have those. I think some other crocodilians do, like maybe caimans have more obvious, um, like kind of patterns like that. And then like if you get into like snakes, then like yeah, they can have all sorts of interesting patterns. But I really wanted him to have interesting little diamond shaped stripes, so he does. And those kinds of decisions are getting easier for me to make. Like, it's really hard for me sometimes to veer from what I can observe in the natural world and go, I don't need to make the thing that I'm making exactly like I see it. So I'm getting better, but it's still not easy. I still just want to make the alligator tail look exactly right, and I don't need to. And it's okay, Annie. It's okay. I do think the way that I'm using colored pencils in this illustration works really well for the all the little granite looking blocks and things. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Now I'm taking off the masking fluid and it comes off beautifully. And I'm sorry that my fingers are so crunchy and dry. Yeah, it's the end of winter. So they come off really well and obviously so they are masking fluid is, really good to use with watercolor. Um, and there were a couple spots that I went over the masking fluid with colored pencil. I mean, not if you're gentle, it won't pull up the masking fluid and it will still help you keep your edges neat. It doesn't matter as much, I think, with colored pencil. But just so you know, if you're careful, you can go over it with colored pencil. Also, I didn't fix her hand until like way late, so like she's got like a weird like shrimp hand. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so this part was probably the hardest part for me is when I was going over because I decided that I wanted his face to be more shadowy and not dark, just like I wanted him to have more form. So I had to go over all of his face with colored pencil, and it was so scary. But I I really wanted to like do it right, you know? And then I'm just adding little yellow centers to the flowers. Oh, and I'm adding little blue shadows, just little bits of them underneath the petals. And it's one of those things that takes 5 seconds, and you don't think it's going to make a difference, but it really does. Just a little bit of shadow detail gives them a lot of depth without drawing a lot of attention to them because I don't need to outline them. They're just background flowers. Oh, and now I'm signing my name, so we must be almost done. So I wanted to say a super huge thank you to the people who have signed up for my Ko-fi account. And there's a link for that below. Here's the tape peel. Woohoo! Um, and oh, right, this tape peel is a massive train wreck because I get all of my colored pencils stuck to it, and I left that in there for you guys. Physical rewards for my Ko-fi are going to ship out this weekend, so if you really wanted to sign up, you still can. I am excited to be mailing snail mail to people. It's so fun. Yeah, here's where my cat starts helping me. Are you helping me? Ma'am, I am trying to work. I hope you guys don't get sick of cats because every time they come bug me, I want to take pictures of them. My phone is just riddled. Yeah. So let me know what you guys think of this. I am super happy with how it turned out. I think the background stayed enough in the background and I pulled the foreground forward enough. And I might do more to the bells because I don't think they're obvious enough. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think. So leave a comment and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.